Regal Movie Masters. Unlimited.
This is the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited podcast where we indiscriminately watch every goddamn movie that comes out at the local theater. Your movie masters today are Justine.
Hi.
Brent.
Hello.
Dylan.
What's up?
And I'm Colin. Today we got 4 movies on the docket. We're looking at Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, The Boogeyman. There's a boo in it, so don't be scared when you hear the... Not me trying to startle you. It's just the name of the film, guys. It's The Boogeyman. Sanctuary and The Machine. Before we get into these. And hey, we got a game of A.I.MBD. But before we do that, need to talk about some viewer mail here. We got some listeners. Not viewers, right?
Listener mail.
Just listener mail.
We got viewers now.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Some listener mail from Joe Casada, who... gives consent to use his name, and that's something we want to bring up here, folks. If the emails that you send, they are default anonymous. So unless you say use the name, we won't use it. He asks what role each of us bring to the show. Says to think of it as the A-Team or Ocean's 11. Who's the leader, the wild card, voice of reason, etc. What do you guys think? I've had more time to look at the email in like a minute.
Well, then you give the thought.
I feel like I'm Cyclops, the one who's like the glue that no one really likes.
Wait, what?
No one's a Cyclops fan. No one loves Cyclops.
He's really whiny.
Yeah.
You're really
You're whiny?
Yes. I don't mean to really self-flagellate here, but
Wait, but is Cyclops on the A-Team?
well,
X-Men.
Yeah, if we can choose.
Oh,
Don't have to
we
go
gotta
all-
get-
It
good
isn't
pick on
it's not
ensemble?
like we can be Hannibal.
No, they say an A-Team, Ocean's 11, bringing up general tropes. I'm like I said, I'm the who's the white guy in Streets of Rage?
Axel.
Michael Perry?
Axel.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Streets of Fire. My bad.
No, the Sega Genesis game.
Well, pick a
That's me. That's as I see it.
Scott
on here.
Summers.
Yeah, just Dullsville
So if we go by characters of X-Men,
I guess we could choose whatever at this point.
or just general tropes.
yeah.
Like you could be, I don't know.
Cerebro. You're just behind the computer.
Oh, what's Barbara Gordon's name?
Yeah. Oh, the Oracle.
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what
Batman.
my
Oh,
friend Scott
damn.
calls me. Sometimes,
Very much
the
so.
Oracle.
Yeah, I think you gotta go with like a bunch of misfit X-Men. You know what I mean? Like for our crew, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you pull up a bunch of like C-level characters from the X-Men, you got us.
That would be Nightcrawler, of course.
Well, yeah.
I
It's
was
not
thinking that too. Just poofing in and out.
tortured.
Yeah.
Some
Like
Absolutely.
horrified existence.
only the church will have me, but I have to live in the attic.
There we go. Yeah. We have high self-esteem as our
He's cool.
we're getting at. Oh, Nightcrawler is the coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not is he your favorite?
Yeah.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah.
Like MODOK.
Okay. Big floating head.
Yeah.
I see it.
What's the other one that looks kind of like a dishwasher? Arnhem Zim. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about?
Going too deep cut for me, man.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I want to go deep with this.
Are we going X-Men? We're just.
I think
sticking
at
with
this
X-Men?
point, or comic book or team, whatever.
If we're gonna go X-Men.
You won't say you're the funny man or the Joker or the wild card. I know you won't.
You just call yourself the
Who's
Joker.
the funny man?
No, I mean I'm just saying
Like
like
I want to call
that, your role.
I guess my role would be like Morph,
Oh,
the X-Men animated show.
not really canon. Dies first episode.
He comes back.
Yeah, he comes back.
I could see you, Dylan, as a saber tooth.
Oh Jesus!
Whoa!
Wait.
Just wait.
Explain.
Yeah,
Hold on.
okay. What does that
He's
mean?
always he's funny.
Oh, thank
Cracking
you.
Yeah,
jokes.
he's always cracking jokes.
Why can't he be
against
Beast?
Wolverine. He's not funny.
Yeah, he's too serious. He's smart.
Beast is very funny.
No, he's not. He's like Frasier funny, and it's not funny.
He's Frasier.
Yeah, he's like
funny.
book smart funny. I'm like streetwise funny.
Okay. Gambit.
No, I like Sabretooth. I like Sabretooth as an answer. I like Morph.
That's a good one too.
Shut up, Morph. That's how Colin talks to me.
I'm Wolverine. Morph, be serious. We have to take on Apocalypse. What are his powers? We don't know.
All of them.
Oh, Arnim Zola. It's the other MODOK-looking dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went deep cut, but I appreciate that. And speaking of viewers, we have a email from a regular listener. We were talking about a Vin Diesel impression, and he sent us a clip from the Always Sunny podcast of Glenn Howerton, which we were recently praising in BlackBerry, doing Vin Diesel's voice, and he pulls it off pretty well. I'll play it for everyone in the room here.
I used to park in Vin Diesel's spot at, when I would go to Jason Bateman's office because he had a spot there, and I was like, he ain't coming in here, so I just parked in a spot every day. But it would be really interesting if he
Who
did.
the fuck parked in my spot?
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. Somebody parked in my spot.
It is appreciated because a Vin Diesel impression is really hard to do. He's so easy to follow. You get too Adrian with it. It's not just like gruff or anything. It's tough to do.
Pretty close.
Yeah, perfect. Anyways, he also gave us a suggestion of a clip to animate, which is a nice way to remind the viewers that I did a little animation piece for the podcast. You can see it on our Instagram. You can see it on our YouTube. Bring it up and see the chuckles ensue. And more importantly, if you have a clip that you would like to see animated, you can email us at moviemasters760. That's moviemasters with an S, 760@gmail.com. We got a clip here, and I think this will motivate me to get some more done. So if you want to see some more done, send us some clip suggestions, timestamps. Greatly appreciated to all our listeners out there. And again, anyone else interested communicating with us for any reason, it's moviemasters760@gmail.com. You're going to use this electronic mail. Hit us up.
Is that a weird thought? You know how there's that South Park episode where Kanye gets mad because he thinks fish sticks is fish dicks?
Right.
I was thinking there might be like bounce messages from people doing Movie Masters 76 euro.
No. It's 760. moviemasters760@gmail.com. That's our area code by BT Dubs. Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse is the follow-up to, what was the first one called? Just Into the Spider-Verse, right?
I think so.
The multi-dimensional Spider-Man animated movie from 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, weird, right? This new one, it's you got 3 directors, Joaquin De Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson, and a writing team of Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who did the Lego movies, hence the Lego Spider-Man cameo in this one, and Dave Callahan. As a lot of the same characters are coming back. This time around, how do you explain the plot of this film? This film centers around the continued adventures of Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales and all the family of Spider people as they try to stop the rifts that are tearing through the multiverse that keep happening with continuity errors and different bad guys that go through the dimensions, one of which being the Spot, which is the big bad of this movie. The first Spider-Man film, I feel really like changed animation. If you watch a lot of cartoons, there is definitely a pre and a post Into the Spider-Verse, because man, like you just have to bring out the multi-medium spectacular. That Puss in Boots movie we watched not too long ago, that's a really good example of like, that's a movie that doesn't exist without the last Spider-Man movie. Everyone liked it. This is the sequel to it. In my estimation, I think they went just kind of bigger and more grandiose in scale, without necessarily, because it's so hard. It's so hard when you like break the mold and you do something new and you do something fresh and you do something original and you do something game changing and you do something that everyone likes. You have to do it again.
Yeah.
Visually, it's astonishing. They still have all the multimedia means of conveying the story. The characters from the different dimensions are animated in different styles. I think like in the last one, there was a handful of Spider-Man from different dimensions. And this time around, they're like, oh, you like that? All right, here's all of them. And so you're going to see, every iteration of Spider-Man from the video games and all the different animated shows and stuff like that. And it's very cameo heavy. The plot is a little thin, I think.
I'd say very thin.
Yeah, they kind of introduced this idea of the central Spider-Man hangouts from all the Spider-Men of all the different dimensions. You have to sound like an idiot describing this movie.
Yep.
And all the different Spider-Mans, they hang out at a castle together in the center of time. Spider-Man 2099, who was teased in the last movie, he's like their boss. He's voiced by Oscar Isaac. And he's very conscious of containing the timeline and continuity and all of that. And unfortunately, for that continuity to happen, as you kind of know if you're a Spider-Man fan, the spider has to suffer. That's sort of the through line through every iteration of the character, is that he just has to get put through them a lot. Poor guy. Few characters, I think, in comics have to suffer the way they make this poor guy suffer. And so the central conceit of the film is they're saying that Miles Morales, the Spider-Man we got introduced to in the last one, like, he is kind of an anomaly. He was bitten by a spider from a different dimension that wasn't meant to bite him, but he has to kind of follow through with this suffering, which is to say losing his father. And he's like, no, I can save him. And they're like, no, you have to let him die. And so that is kind of the conflict, I guess you would say, is you have to bend a knee to fate in that regard. And I guess in this universe, they're saying continuity is, or canon, that's what they call it, right? That's such like a hard and fast thing that if you mess with canon, the whole world falls apart.
Literally.
Yeah, like the fabric of the universe just falls to pieces. This is fine. That would be fine, except they really had this one out with like a lot of, and this is what I kind of struggle with in this movie and kind of brought to my attention as like, what is this? Like what I would call emotional manipulation, or like Pixar emotions where it's just like, hey, moms love their kids. Relatives dying is sad. These kind of very broad, universal, easy to kind of pluck at the heartstrings kind of approaches to storytelling. I feel like that's a little cheap, and there's a lot of that in this movie. And I don't know why that isn't okay, but let's say what they have in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is clearly the same thing, a lot of heartstring pulling and, emotional manipulation. Why I'm okay with it there, but not in this movie.
Last week we talked about what makes Disney magic, and Justine very succinctly summed it up as world building. I think in Guardians, you have a really effective world building going on. Whereas this one, you're just tossing in all these things that you're hoping to pop little sectors of the audience with, like, oh, did you see this? Oh my God, I can't believe, like Spider-Man 2099, can you believe that? I think you kind of just get distracted from telling a good story, but also like, I guess when you do a multiverse, it is hard to build a world. Right? So maybe that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you. It felt very thin. And I when I was thinking of how to sum up the movie, I reached the same difficulty you did. But this is another thing I wanted to ask all you guys. Did you know that it was going to be a part 1?
No.
Yeah, I think that's technically a spoiler, which is weird to say. But it's funny that it's hot off the heels of Fast X, which is like the first part of supposedly a sequel trilogy, which will end the saga, is what I've heard. But that is at the end of 9 movies and a spinoff, and it's something that's been going on for over a decade. Whereas the Spider-Man movie, there's been one other movie.
Yeah.
And it again, just, I think, really impacted culture as a whole, pop culture at least. I don't know of a soul who's like, man, that Spider-Man cartoon sucks. It's like kind of makes everyone happy. And this movie, I would love to say that this is just they let the artists run wild and do their thing. And this is just the story they wanted to tell. So it's going to be stretched out over 2 movies because that's the length of time it takes to tell the story they want to tell. But I know for a fact that Sony is just fucking clinging to the one W they've ever had. Like the one universal, like, holy shit, this is great. This is better than any of the Marvel movies lately. This is one of our favorite things. Yeah. They're just like, milk this. Milk it fucking dry. Don't wrap it up. Don't this forever we're doing this. That's what it felt like to me, that this is like kind of corporate mandated. Because what's the story really? It's, hey, Peter Parker, or hey, Miles Morales, we, the Spider-Man Council, say you have to let your dad die for canon. And he says, no, I want to save him. And they're like, save your father and you're going to tear apart the universe? That seems like a 3-act story that could get kind of cinched up pretty quickly. And what they padded out with is just, a lot of cameos, which I'm not mad at. I like all that nerdy stuff, but all the emotional stuff, you have to deal with the same arc essentially for every universe, right? Gwen and her dad, Miles Morales and his mom and dad, Peter B. Parker of the last movie, he's a dad. Like everyone's gets their stuff, but it just doesn't connect in any kind of meaningful way, to me at least.
Funny that you mentioned milking and padding, because I mentioned before I've got a very hyperbolic group chat that always talks about these movies, and this person has children, so different emotional set than the rest of us, and all caps wrote, "Good Lord, that was amazing," and I responded, "Amazingly long and padded out," with a milk emoji. So
Jeez.
Yeah, that was your assessment is spot on with how I
Just
feel.
mean to your friends like that.
No, I'm real with my friends.
It's like you shitting on his taste. Wrong. That actually sucked, and you are an idiot.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, it's like it's become like its own trope.
It's, I don't know if this is like, if I think about this in like meta terms. So they introduce, in the last movie, you had a portrayal of the Kingpin that was Bill Sienkiewicz drawn, or it was in the style that Bill Sienkiewicz did, I think in Daredevil Born Again, the Frank Miller, one of the Frank Miller Daredevil stories, and which was like one of those jaw-dropping, like, I can't believe I'm seeing this impossible character to portray in the style of this comic on screen. This is astonishing. And this time around, you get like 90s over muscly Scarlet Spider from the Clone Saga. And the Clone Saga for the Spider-Man in the late 90s is notorious for being like the all sizzle, no steak, year after year. This thing was being drawn out, and it was, Spider-Man is actually a clone and Peter Parker it's a big convoluted story. But it was kind of a notorious story for being like Marvel editorial hell of just like, no. Keep getting people to buy this. Keep doing more Spider Clone tie-ins. Keep dragging this out. And like it lost a lot of readers and like really did a lot of damage to the comic buying audience because they were never getting a conclusion to the story. And it's like, what kind of, are you guys like just mocking us with the inclusion of the character that was introduced in that saga in this? Like, are you winking at us? Are you telling us that that this is just some like thread that's just getting pulled at for far too long?
Maybe the next installment will be a foil variant. I'm sorry if that's like it's too inside baseball. Okay.
There's no such thing as too inside baseball in a movie that has
That's true.
The Atari game characters like as cameos and the Donald Glover like in prison because he was the guy who was the original inspiration for Miles Morales in the comics based on comment section from the community, blah, 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 blah. It's very, very meta, and it leans into the meta-ness of it all. I don't know.
Well, Justine, like since we were talking about the thing about what makes magic happen in a movie, did you see any of that on screen with your viewing of this, or did it fall short? And if so, why?
I think that it fell short because they were trying to do too many different things, like the Kingpin showing up and that weird crystal effect in the end of the first one was really amazing to see. It was different. This one was so messy, like just the way that it looked, it was really confused. I remember the part where I was like, I hate this. When Gwen is talking to her dad, I think they're in her room, and the background is just like watercolor, and it keeps changing again and again. And I was like, maybe they're trying to say like in a comic when panels are just like randomly different colors, but it doesn't have that effect. It just looks really bad. And it's like, she's not dreaming. They're not in an alternate reality. This is her reality. I don't understand why they're making it look like this. And it's just so that it looks like something.
Apparently, I learned after the fact. That's like how the covers of the Spider-Gwen comics were. They were very watercolory. But you're right. That's sort of my issue with this film is like they'll do something like that, which is like, hey, Spider-Gwen fans, all you people who read the comics from like 5 years ago, look, we're giving you something. But if you're not zoned in like that, razor sharp to all these various spider people, you're like, this just doesn't look good. It's just a messy smear.
Yeah, and if there's so many things like that, it makes the whole movie just look disjointed,
Yes.
you know? And the pacing was really bad.
Right.
Like that part where Gwen is talking to her dad, you see her having the same conversation with her dad other times.
Right.
And she's like talking to Miles and, they're both like, I missed you like 5 times.
Right.
Like, here we are on top of a building. Here we are at my dad's barbecue or whatever. And it's like, here's Miles upside down before Gwen goes into the portal, but it takes like 5 minutes for her to walk in.
Right.
There's just all these parts that feel like they're obviously stretching this movie out. The part that I did think was kind of magical is the spot.
Right.
All the weird stuff where stuff is going in him and out of him. It's very Portal. That was really interesting and really clever. And it's funny that he doesn't know how to use his powers and stuff. That looked really cool and was a really good concept. But the rest of it, like I was saying, there was no moment for me that was like that moment where Kingpin is like breaking, I don't know, the reality or whatever.
Yeah.
There wasn't a moment like that because there was just too much other stuff going on. I feel like they didn't make it like a whoa. It was just kind of like, here's a little of this, here's a little of that. And overall it just was kind of underwhelming. Or just there was too much of it, so you couldn't really be amazed. Kind of the same deal as with you're impressed by Kingpin, but not by 1,700 different Spider-Mans because it's like, I get it. A lot of Spider-Man, move on,
Right.
You don't get to really focus on any one of them.
Yeah, and being a little unfair, I guess, because in the first one, I'm thinking of when they introduce the Spider-Man noir or Spider-Pig, or you kind of got to spend time with the characters, or their art style was so distinct from each other that they stood out. And watching these two different art styles kind of gel together on screen as the characters gel was fun and interesting. And I guess you did get the Spider-Punk character and the Spider-Man of the Indian world. And that was fun, but I didn't get as much of a sense of those characters, or it wasn't as fun to see those characters interact as it was in the first one. So again, it just feels very much like Hollywood sequel going bigger rather than innovating in a similar way. Dylan, don't let us be so negative. Shine some light on this shit.
I liked it. I will say, my only gripe is that I thought it would be just one movie, so I thought it would finish up. But other than that, I don't know. I thought visually I liked that a lot. I know you guys didn't like the Gwen Stacy world, but I didn't mind it. I read the first 2 issues when they came out, and I was like, okay, it's whatever. And I guess everyone else has their own distinct look of the world. I'm still lost on 2099 Spider-Man.
What that character is, or why he is the way he is in this world.
Yeah, exactly. What? I didn't know that about Miguel. I don't know if that's a thing.
The vampire thing, or
No, the
being head of the Spider-Man Citadel or whatever.
I guess that. But the whole
It's a new wrinkle.
Is the whole I switch bodies with the other guy?
He
The
switches
other
bodies?
Miguel
Rick and
thing, is that
Morty.
canon?
Wait, who does he switch bodies with?
I don't remember.
There's another Miguel, and that guy dies, and then he's like, "Fuck it, this guy has a family. I'll just stick with."
Oh yeah. He switches in dimensions, and then no, I think that was invented
for a movie?
That was for a movie.
I don't know how much 2099 lore there is for that. Spider-Man.
Right.
Not too deep.
In all fairness, yeah, you're not wrong. Who the hell knows? These comics come out every month. We don't
Yeah.
read them all.
I don't know. As a Spider-Man movie, as just a cartoon, I liked it for the time I had.
The time you had on this earth? What are we talking about here?
In the 2.5 hours that I had to sit there.
2.5 hours. That's right.
Yeah, and I was like, I think I said this story as soon as we exited the theater, but I was like, I know how my dad felt once Infinity War ended.
Yeah.
But my dad doesn't keep track like we do for that stuff. No, there's going to be an epic movie. Right after this. It's going to be sick.
You just have to wait 2 years.
Yeah, and this one, it's Oh, you could have wrapped that up, I thought.
Yeah,
I thought so too. Yeah.
I will say
Yeah.
that's like the other. That's like the one gripe I have. Other than that, though, I don't know. Just
So
like,
to wrap it up, they would have to just defeat Spot.
Or you just show
Fowler.
you knock out Spot. You show
Yeah.
that like you can save the dad and canon doesn't have to fall apart.
Oh sure.
You do some little whatever. Fucking, I didn't write the goddamn
Yeah,
movie.
do something.
They have to find the Miles that's in the wrong dimension.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's very Back to the Future too, right? You show like the evil dimension or the dimension of what would have been if there wasn't a Spider-Man. Like that stuff's cool, fine. But you can do that and, punch the Spot guy in the face and take him to jail if you don't have 20 scenes of, Miles, I'm your mom and I love you and you're changing. Mom, I want to be independent.
There's a whole scene where they're at his school
Right.
for no reason.
Well, that's kind of like they're showing that he's trying to balance his family
but
and
we know that.
his Spider-Man life.
And, just having him be, he's going to be late. And then he like runs in and okay, that's fine. But his parents are there with Rachel Dratch
Right.
for like a long time, literal silence waiting for him.
Yeah, but then you're also getting introduced to the Spot during that fight. I mean, regardless, the big picture is you don't need all of that family stuff.
And you know what? I was okay with it while it was just the Spot. Because
Right.
that's what I thought it was going to. This is the villain.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's really cool looking. I get it. He also has to like, I don't know what he's doing. Not applying to college, but applying to high school. I don't know what he's doing. But
5-year plan.
yeah, that seemed like a good story, and that was fine. I now feel like it was a waste of time spending all that,
Right.
Because then it was like, Spot, wait, he's not the villain. Okay, we're doing other Spider-Verse stuff. Is Spider-Man 2099 the villain because he's trying to make him stop? No. Who is the villain here?
Right.
Why are we having so many movies at once?
And it's the double-edged sword of having like the sensible villain who isn't like, I'm evil. 2099 Spider-Man is like, look, we got to keep all of the universe together. You can't just go around saving people. Like, that's not villainy enough to be a villain.
But that's the Thanos thing.
Exactly.
That's what makes sense.
They don't balance it out enough to where you are against him. It's like I said, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you can get a really great villain, but on the other hand, you get too sympathetic of a villain, and it's like, all right, I don't think this guy is necessarily wrong. But wait, how much do they actually know about the continuity and how fragile it is? I don't know.
Just trying to do too much. Like lately, I've been really into Bill Hader's storytelling with Barry, and so much so that I've gone into like just watching interviews with him talking about it, and everybody cites what everybody sees on screen, which is that he tends to favor and pay homage to classic film storytellers. And so he was telling a story about how a lot of times when he's got teen daughters, and when they're having like sleepovers, kids will be upstairs singing karaoke or whatever, and he'll be just downstairs watching a classic movie. And I guess at one point he's watching some Hitchcock movie, and the kids came down like, "What are you watching?" And he's just like, "Oh, I'm just watching this movie, like Vertigo." And then one by one, all the kids started migrating down, and they got like really fascinated.
Right.
The kids were riveted by it and going, "Oh my god!" And so it's just like really simple storytelling
Right.
made in the 50s. That it still captivates a teen audience today, maybe even more so than something like this that is just trying to do way too many things all at once. So yeah, I think that's where this film kind of collapses on itself. Is it doesn't keep it simple enough to really. I think it's just not giving people enough credit for being able to just like look at a story and go, okay, I understand the stakes.
Right.
Like, I feel like there's just too many like, hey, look, let's reference a meme. Okay, now let's reference like this one issue from 1998 or whatever, and it's just kind of like, all right, got it. You're going to get a dose of that with every comic book movie, but this one just felt like just kind of over the top.
You need to have heart. They need to have heart. What is heart? What family? They need that. They need to have heart.
You sound like a man that has watched way too many fast movies this month.
So to at least give some sort of flowers to this, I did think, it is really visually impressive.
Sure.
It's a little bit less impactful because of the first movie that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently watching a lot of movies ape that movie. You're never going to be able to get that first time magic again. But it is still like a very impressive feat of animation. I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some choices that are maybe not as excellent as others, but generally speaking, it's cool. It's cool they could do it again. But story-wise, I don't know. It seems to be working, though. People like this movie. It's doing very
I will
well.
say a lot of people, even in my like friend groups that I follow, all like 10 out of 10, most perfect movie. I'm like, dang.
I know.
I like the first one more.
First one's amazing.
I will admit.
First
I
one
like,
you could say
I
is
love
pretty much flawless. It's
Into
awesome.
is way better.
Yeah.
But I was like, damn, a lot of people just love this one, and I like it too. I'm not a hater or anything. It's just
Remember
a movie.
in high school at the old 930 Club, behind the bar, they would always play like old anime movies. And you're like, oh, this looks cool. And it kind of created like an ambience.
Right.
This is a movie you can just play behind a bar, to create ambience. You don't need, the actual story because there barely is one.
Yeah, just look at the cool shit.
Yeah,
But then
exactly.
again, I don't know if you just see two heads on screen talking for like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's
good
not a lot
point.
of interesting
Well,
stuff
but yeah,
happening.
they could slice it down to maybe like
There we go.
an hour and 15 minutes
Listen.
of cool animation.
You know what I was thinking of is Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Because on
Okay.
those two 75-minute compact discs, there's a very rock solid 40-minute
Yes.
album if you just pick and choose the songs and make the playlist that you're choosing. But as entire albums, it's a slog. And this movie feels like that. Like when they put out the next one, you can edit this down and have a really sharp, depending on what they do with this next movie. I'm imagining, I'll even say a 2-hour plus film, maybe even a 90-minute. I don't know. But that edit's going to be great. This one, I don't know if I'm coming back to.
They're gonna have to move like breakneck speed in the next movie.
Yeah, I don't know why that just couldn't be different. This is so set up to be like, get a team of Spider-Men together and beat a villain. Like every movie you could be doing this, and it could be real short and real easy, and you'd crank them out every couple of years, and who would complain so long as it looks as stunning as these movies look. But I guess they're going in a different direction. But again, it's working for some people. For myself, are we going to say, are we going thwip on this one? 2 thwips? Or is this one just sinister? Like the Sinister Six. I'm going to say, I will thwip on this one because I do think, despite all my gripes, it is visually really impressive. It's kind of amazing to be getting movies with all these like deep cut references and all that. It's fun nerd stuff. It's not a good film by like, basic standards or anything, but to look at something astonishing like this from an animation standpoint, it's like really cool. I just, I wish it could have done better. But that's me.
Yeah, there's some movies that are like dumb, but you're okay with it because of the spectacle. Like they're not very good, but they're fun to watch. This almost is that. Obviously, what was it? Thwip?
Thwip. Maybe just one thwip.
Yeah,
Okay.
one thwip. Just to get where you're going. But because it's impressive. There are some really neat parts. The story is the thing that is lacking, but you can appreciate all the work that went into it, some care, some research. So that's cool.
I'll toss it a thwip for the animation aspect. I would never want to like discourage people from watching it because it's a Herculean task to do that animation. So you can go and appreciate that, but I'd say don't expect much in terms of the story department.
I'll give it a thwip. Spider-Man movie. I can't hate on it. Realistically,
You could.
nah. Name a really bad Spider-Man
Were
movie.
you not? Were you weren't an amazing hater?
Not a hater.
You weren't an appreciator. Don't,
I'm
lie
not,
to me.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I like love the Andrew Garfield ones,
Of course you didn't.
but I had a good time.
The Boogeyman is a film directed by Rob Savage, written by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Do you know what movies those guys wrote?
I'm gonna go with Nacho Libre.
Nope, they wrote 65. That
Oh, no shit.
the Adam
Okay,
Driver
cool.
movie, and A Quiet Place. I guess they're a team that works together, which I always think is so cool. Doesn't that just seem fun?
Yeah.
And then Mark Heyman also helped with writing. Do you know what movie he wrote? He wrote Black Swan.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, so you get some kind of Giga Brain writers on this one.
Did they show up to work?
Yeah. Well, they were adapting a Stephen King short story, and it's radically different. To say an adaptation, I think, is a stretch.
Yeah.
So in the original Boogeyman, the opening scene where the guy comes into the therapist's office and he's like, you're not going to believe me, but I didn't kill these people, but people think I did, but I didn't. There's a Boogeyman and he's in the world, and it's messed up, huh? And the guy's like, that's crazy. And then in the short story, as he's leaving, he sees that the therapist is the bogeyman. Ha ha ha. It's Stephen King. And in this movie, the therapist is not the bogeyman. The bogeyman is an entire separate entity. In the Stephen King story, he's like, what if all the stories in witch lore and all that stuff was true and there is a boogeyman? Just what if? Wouldn't that be crazy? And all the dead kids and missing kids and all that you see, it's all because of the boogeyman. And this movie's kind of playing off of that idea. It's a thing that shows up when you're not taking care of your kids. It's the boogeyman or something.
Is there a reason they toss the extra O in the...
No, it's because it goes boo.
Oh, because boo, scary.
Boo. More O's and more scary. And in this film, it goes off from that sequence. The original guy who goes to see the therapist, he hangs himself in the house, thus spreading the bogeyman curse to the family who has to handle this thing and figure out what the heck is going on with all of this boogeyman action. Of course, the littlest girl is they lost their mom. And so that's the other thing, is that the boogeyman follows people who are grieving or sad, vulnerable. And so he's going after the little girl in this movie. And of course, no one you're just hearing things, little girl. I know there's not a such thing as a bogeyman.
Like, she's already afraid of the dark.
Yeah. And she lost her mom recently. They're all messed up.
Yeah.
And then her sister, the therapist guy's daughter, she's like, you know what? I'm starting to believe this kid. I think there's a real bogeyman going on. So she has to track down the wife of the guy that commits suicide and learn about the bogeyman issue in that household. The dad is kind of checked out, which I think is the point of the movie. Is that he's very clocked out. Am I wrong for getting 90s vibes off this? Like just a Dimension Films hit in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's, listen. I know this is going to be weird to say. This is exactly the movie I wanted to watch. Because I was like, I had this Spider-Man movie where I had these high hopes and was kind of like, whatever about, we've been watching these comedies and I have a whole new relationship with comedy now.
Me too.
I used to say like, oh, what are your my favorite movies? Like, oh, I love, Slapshot or, Billy Madison or fill in the blank kind of ridiculous slapstick over the top comedy. Like, yeah, I love comedies. Justine, you're the first person I've ever met who was just like, I don't like comedies. Mm-hmm. Like, what? That's insane. Who thinks that way? That's a cuckoo, crazy person take. But then, here I am now. I'm watching, listen, a comedy can be great when it's good. But frankly, I don't think there's a lot of comedic actors who are like taking up the mantle that, let's say, a lot of either the Apatow camp or the SNL camp before that were really spearheading. There's not a lot of like amazing voices coming out in the world of like movie comedy. And watching a bad comedy or even an okay comedy, there's a level of boredom and suffering in that that just doesn't exist for watching, let's say, a bad action movie, like all those Fast and Furious movies. I'm not going to pretend to say that like I loved those movies or they were like, he had a huge impact on me, or they were just like game changers. I was riveted, stuck to my my eyeballs were stuck on the screen. But it's like, hey, you know what? Movie with cars and explosions? All right. So I think I can appreciate these genre movies when they're just kind of boring and bog standard in a way that I can't with like comedies or even these art house flicks that they keep putting out. When the bougie movies hit, well, it's like, oh, wow, what an accomplishment. Cool. What a unique voice. But when it's like, I don't know, a bad, good movie, that sucks. They swing for the bleachers, a big miss, big old miss. And when it's a big, epic comic book franchise tie-in, huge stakes, deep lore kind of movie, it's like, that's so much. But the bogeyman, okay, listen, he's a friggin' monster, lives in your closet, snatches you up. Watch out, it's a bogeyman. You don't need to go in there with any lore. This isn't a good movie. It's a boring movie. It's a pretty much a boring movie, but it's exactly the kind of boring I wanted. I was like so satisfied to just be like, yes, Yes, this is again just like a dimension movie you would pick up off of the rack in 1998, take it home, and be like, yeah, that kind of sucked, and just flush it from your brain. But there's just a comfort in watching it. At 41 years old, I am really understanding now for the first time why I appreciate horror, which is like a bad horror movie, a really bad horror movie is hilarious. A boring horror movie is still kind of comforting. And a great horror movie is great. So it's like there's nothing to lose. There's a comfort in like the just draggiest, dullest, he's right behind me, don't say his name, I can't, like that kind of bullshit. It's comforting. At least there's not a big shirtless guy like telling fart jokes at you or whatever, like I'm really, really happy. I'm just now comfortable calling myself a horror fan. I'm just now getting it.
Justine, did you feel that comfort?
Yeah, it feels like an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode.
Yeah.
It's definitely like for younger audience, which I assume all Stephen King is. It's the only people I know that read that
Well,
or
how
have
much
read that.
how much do you want to tag the Stephen King lore on this, really?
I'm saying it feels like a Stephen King
Right,
thing.
right. Stephen King type beat.
Yeah, where it's like it's a younger teenager type audience and protagonists, and it's not really scary. There's a little bit of a creep factor. It's for kids, and I can appreciate it in that way. So, I mean, I wasn't impressed, but it is like, yep, watching Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's just longer. I don't mind those. I'll put those on while I'm like cooking or something.
I got two things nice to say about it, because like I said, I'm not going to pretend this is like great or anything. But one is they actually showed the goddamn monster. Like there's a Boogeyman and he's a monster and he's going to get you. And it's like, yeah, there really is. And he's got like supernatural rules that apply to him, kind of. And like, here's how you beat him. It's not like some psych out thing where it's like the Boogeyman is in your mind. Like, no, it's a big old friggin' monster and you got to beat the monster when it decides to come at you. I'm not saying that's great. I'm just saying like at least they show you a goddamn monster a little bit. And I think I was trying to figure out what was going on beneath the surface because there's a lot of like, he picks on vulnerable people, right? And like your parents and authority figures will not believe you when you tell them about him. He completely destroys families when he's like, infesting a home. Like you see his black roots like in the house itself. The house in these movies is always a metaphor for like, family and everything. And it's like, okay, so this is, I'm not saying it's just a metaphor, but it's not. I think there's enough merit there for it being like about some kind of abuse of a child who won't be believed when they talk about it. So that at least just checks my horror movie box of like, oh, it's about something, it's about an idea. They're using the Boogeyman. You could fit it into this idea of like, I'm being attacked. No one is believing me, and it's ultimately going to destroy our home. And I appreciate that in pretty much any horror movie. Just, again, it doesn't have to be that artfully done. Just, okay, someone put a little bit of thought into it. So yeah, those are the downs. I would say everything else. When the cast of Euphoria High comes over for the sleepover, that was very silly, very modern feeling in a way. Hence, like to your point about it being kind of for kids, right?
Was the last horror movie we saw The Evil Dead?
Probably.
Okay,
yeah.
so that's 2 in a row where evil is communicable.
Right.
Yeah.
Oops. Gotcha.
And I think before that, like It Follows is a good example, of how evil can be transferred from
Smile.
Smile as well. Yeah, okay. So we might be seeing a little small spike in that being a running theme, perhaps. Okay. I wanted to ask our resident film historian, Dylan, a question.
Yes.
So I've found that I don't really enjoy Stephen King adapted movies too much, but I know that you probably have a much deeper bench to draw from knowledge-wise. What 5, let's say, just off the top of the dome, this is unprepared.
It won.
Okay.
Too.
Okay.
The OG. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Top 5
Yeah,
best.
hit me with like 5, Stephen King adapted movies that are essential in your estimation.
All right. Well, speaking as someone in a room where everyone has the Pennywise the Clown tattoo.
Facts.
The OG or the new one?
Yes.
Both. Just
Okay.
either one.
Yes.
I
One
think
on one arm, the
Justine
other on
has
the
the
other.
Tim Curry one. I obviously have the new Skarsgård version of it.
Colin has both.
Yeah, Colin has both on one each arm, and Brent has the chest piece.
I'm getting one right now.
Brent has the chest piece of the kid in the yellow jacket talking to it.
You didn't know that the red balloon tattoo I have is...
Oh, that's where that's from?
Yeah, it's from...
Oh, I thought that was from like the song or like,
I thought it
like
was from
Banksy art.
You thought it was Madeline, but no, it's It. Yeah.
2.
Specifically?
I haven't seen the first one.
Hold on. Let me see.
Yeah.
Top 5.
Yeah, give me 5.
I can name Colin's first one is Thinning.
I curse you.
Thinner.
There's no reason for that line to be as iconic as it is in my mind.
Right.
There's no way everyone in the world is walking around with I curse you, thinner. In the same way that it is just burned into mine. It was like on a trailer that I saw a lot.
Okay, let me be dead ass. You gotta throw in The Shining.
Of course.
You gotta throw in the Pet Cemetery for the song alone.
Oh, I mean, yeah, best Ramon song.
Yeah, best Ramon song. Plus, best use of another Ramon song where the truck driver kills the kid. He's listening to the Ramones. I forget what song. Yeah. I think it's something off of Rocket to Russia. That's besides the point.
Would you go Carrie?
Damn, Carrie.
In top 5?
Is that top 5, you think?
Oh, I'm sorry, Christine is what I'm thinking of.
Oh.
I'm going to have to I have to shout out my dad for this one again. He put me on to the Dead Zone movie and the stupid-ass TV show.
Yes.
And that movie and show has a place in my heart forever. For no reason. I've never rewatched it since it's been on air, but loved them. If I have to really put it down,
put it down
for
top
myself,
5.
dude. I really do enjoy The Mist for how like funny that movie is. It's the one where they're stuck in a supermarket and they're like, there's a mist and there's a bunch of zombies in the mist.
Is that a TV miniseries
Not a
first?
bunch of zombies.
Yeah,
there was a
series,
TV show, but there was a movie in 07.
What's the difference between The Mist and The Fog?
The Fog is a pirate ship, like a ghost ship.
Yeah, they're actual pirate zombies or ghosts rather. Yeah,
but the Fog, or in the Mist, I said zombies. They're just monsters. There's like a bunch of monsters that travel in mist. I do like Dreamcatcher for how shitty that movie is.
Okay,
that's top 5 for sure.
That's a '90s joint.
No, that's like early 2000s. Jason Lee's in it.
Ooh. Did we watch that movie?
We did.
They have like a bug, like a stomach bug, and they're just shitting like a lot.
Oh my god!
Maybe we didn't see Dreamcatcher. Which is the Wishmaster?
Oh, how many is that? Is that 4 or is that 5?
How is Shawshank Redemption not on here yet?
I'm not putting that. That doesn't count.
How does it not count?
Fuck you, dude. It's not
his
scary.
top 5.
It's not scary.
Okay. I think you would have to take out Shine. If you were to really do this list, you'd have to take out.
All right, fine.
At least
take out The Shining.
And
I'll add a Maximum Overdrive for the AC/DC soundtrack.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I'll add Carrie.
Okay.
For the cool shot in reverse car destruction.
You mean Christine?
What did I say? Carrie?
Yes.
Oh, Christine.
Same thing.
Carrie's really good.
Yeah,
Carrie is good.
Misery's really good.
Misery.
Firestarter's really good.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, dude. And it's fucked up because there's so many movies you didn't think, or like stories he's written that you wouldn't think are his stories in movie. Because I don't think in The Green Mile or in
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, they don't say it's Stephen King, Shawshank Redemption.
He's in the mix in the credits, but yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the title itself.
Right.
Was it marketed?
It's like, yeah.
I think they use the name more when the movie is less. If that's all they got to ride on.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah,
that's a really good.
Is Maximum Overdrive like Stephen King's Maximum?
I remember the marketing. Yes, it was.
I know he's in it. Yeah. I know he's in the film.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the first times he shows up in his own movie.
You'll see the H.P. Lovecraft thing tagged on too. If you see a low budget movie that's like H.P. Lovecraft, whatever it is, you're in for a fucking treat. But like, if it's like, oh yeah, The Reanimator, that's actually based on an H.P. Lovecraft story. Cool. But it's like not broad and in your face. It's like, it's just called The Reanimator.
Yeah, anyway. What are we talking about? The Boogeyman?
Yeah, we're talking about
down?
Boogeyman. Because that's the thing is that for some reason, like, I don't know, I think there's been like, some recent stuff that's been like, from the mind of Stephen King. I've been like, this is a bad movie.
Yeah, it's like, that doesn't amount to much. That doesn't have the oomph you think it does. Yeah. But I think it's just that It movie gave him such wings, you know?
Well, I have never read anything Stephen King. And after we saw the movie, we listened to
the short
story audiobook or whatever. And now I have no idea how much Stephen King is actually in Stephen King movies.
Right.
Because I know The Shining is like wildly different.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And this was wildly different.
Yeah.
So I don't really know if you, I mean, like Stephen King is kind of like, you just very much just like a springboard. where
Yeah,
you're
jumping
like,
off point. Yeah, like famously in the opening credits for The Shining, you see that Kubrick, I think it's like in the book, it's like a red Volkswagen that's on the side of the road or whatever. But Kubrick had, I think it's like a yellow Volkswagen that is on fire, to indicate that, hey, I'm burning everything about this story,
That short story too is very problematic.
Yeah.
I was very uncomfortable
The Shining?
just listening to it. No,
Boogeyman.
yeah, I would not have expected anybody to make anything out of it or to admit that they liked it
Yeah.
enough to make something out of it.
I have a question
Go
and
on.
a guess. Is the first 10 seconds more representative of the short story than it is the actual movie?
The whole story takes place in a therapist's office.
Yeah.
The entirety of it.
Oh,
And the guy doesn't hang himself or anything. He's just in the therapist's office. He sets up an appointment.
that's right. You already
he
said
leaves.
that the boogeyman was the therapist.
And I think in the Steven, so he uses some a lot of racial slurs, and he's like, the
therapist?
guy, no, the guy who is seeing the therapist, and he's like, it was written in the early 70s, and I think he's Stephen King, if I'm being favorable, is trying to say that like this guy is basically has a regressive attitude about society changing. He wants women to be in their place. He's very prejudiced. And thus the boogeyman is like snatching up his kids and getting them. And sort of like if you drag your feet in the face of changing times, something bad happens to you. I don't think that message translates to this movie, partially because I don't think they'd want to portray a character as awful as the character in the Stephen King story. But yeah, man, the man's fast and loose with his racial slurs. If you read his old books, and I don't think a lot of that is, for whatever reason, doesn't come out on his adaptations.
I realize now after hearing that there is like a nod to that at the end when the kids therapist lady is like, hey, what's your name? Can you come back in here? And she's like, oh, okay. So she goes back, and then you almost think that it's the boogeyman again because the therapist is not there.
Right.
And she's like, hello? And then the therapist comes from like somewhere else and is like, did you forget something? What's going on? And she's like, oh, nothing. And there's like a closet open. So it's kind of like maybe the therapist was really the boogeyman in disguise, like in the story.
Right.
But it's not.
Yeah. Nor is it particularly. The horror movie tags at the end where it's like, this monster's still here. Those are never. I don't count those as canon.
I like the film because it reminded me of another great 2010s movie, The Bye Bye Man.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Don't
dude.
think it, don't say it, don't think it, don't say it.
Don't think it, don't say it. Don't think it, don't say it. That movie's good. Did they ever once say the Boogeyman?
Yeah, like all the time.
Did you say the Boogeyman in this
Yes,
movie?
and it's so fucking hard to keep a straight face. They're like, he's the boogeyman. All their ideas of what.
Oh, that's right. The
kids do.
lady goes, they called him the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. So as you may have picked up throughout this discussion of the film, the boogeyman is the funniest fucking word. The boogeyman.
And it's messed up because before we even watched it, behind closed doors, we kept calling him the Booger Man.
Yes.
And in my head, I'm like, I'm watching the Booger Man. And I'm like, that's not what it's fucking called. And like, maybe that's why I don't remember them saying, oh, they called him the Boogeyman.
Like, guys, you gotta watch out. It's the boogeyman. You don't need to tell the full story, but when the fool came into your theater.
Oh, you want me to talk about
Yeah, you don't have to go into in depth, but just the introduction of my favorite story from Dylan's theater going experience.
So I went to what I would call the GOAT Regal, which is
Mira Mesa.
Yeah, Mira Mesa. Watched it with some friends. We were ready for the movie. The Universal logo starts to pop up, so like the drum line intro starts to play. All of a sudden, this guy walks in, like just super drunk, I assume, and he's just screaming. As soon as he walks in, lone man, just goes, fuck yeah, the fucking Boogeyman, right? Fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And he's like just screaming into all the way till he gets to his seat. And like, but I'm just like laughing. So I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'm in for a treat. And like, I don't know if someone actually said something to him or he's just hearing voices, but he just goes like, starts talking to someone else that's like around him. He's like, fuck you, you think I give a fuck? And then he moves down one more row, I guess, for no reason to get away with whoever's talking to him. And still says like, fuck you, shut the fuck up.
I love that he's going into this movie as if the Boogeyman is like a Michael Myers or like a Jason Voorhees or some like iconic character.
Anything.
All right,
iconic.
give it up for Darth Vader.
Yeah,
no,
Star Wars.
no one has any connection to the Boogeyman.
Yeah, so
There's no beloved star of screen known as the Boogeyman.
What's up, Michael Clayton?
yeah. But like, dude, it was awesome. I got stoked.
So the Boogeyman. Are we opening the closet and letting him out? Are we going to keep this guy locked in the closet and maybe even burn him with fire? For myself, again, maybe it's just contextually because I've just been bombarded with a lot of movies lately. It was just something comfortable about watching a bland, very generic horror movie. I was in the right mood for it. I enjoyed it. It's not a good movie, but it was my kind of movie. And I'll watch these movies all the time and just enjoy them because I'm easy to please. I don't know. Justine? Are we opening the closet?
Oh, yeah.
Leave a little crack open for the Boogeyman?
Yeah. I like to make friends. Leave a little crack open for the Boogeyman.
All right, let the Boogeyman come out.
Yeah, and I want to shout out the little girl, the little daughter, who I thought was good, and I misplaced her face. She's not the person I thought she was. She's little Leia in Obi-Wan.
I recognize that for sure.
Great.
Yeah. She
That's why I
did a
like
good
her.
job. She's
You know,
kind of funny.
One last flower for this movie. Very hard to do a movie that's heavily reliant on like a young child actor, and there's a lot of that in this. And it's not a drawback. So that's something.
Yeah.
We don't get to be mean to kids this episode. That's cool.
I will say that if you're going to see this movie, see it in Mira Mesa.
I leave a crack open, boogie on down with him whenever he wants, dude. Like, if he just wants to chill out, I'm down.
Oh.
Loved him.
It said he feeds on suffering. Well,
Guess what?
Gobble gobble.
I work at a place filled with that.
Sanctuary is a film me and Justine saw. It's a film.
and one other man.
Oh, one other man was in the theater with us, and I saw him. I'm pretty sure updating his letterbox immediately after the film. So is it that? I think it might be that kind of movie.
Yeah.
I feel like, and if I'm talking out of line here, correct me, but I feel like they drop these like smaller art house kind of movies or artsy movies is like, hey, take a little breather from all the superheroes and the actions and the explosions. Here's a sensible little quiet movie. And this one is directed by Zachary Wiggin. He did The Heart Machine. Anyone? Anyone?
Oh, no.
Written by Mika Bloomberg, who did a chunk of the writing on the Homecoming show. Anyone?
Don't know that either.
It stars basically two people. It's very much so like a play. It's just two people in a hotel room. The boy is Christopher Abbott. He was in Possessor. And the lady is Margaret Qualley. I guess she's in a show Leftovers. And everyone has obviously a lot of other parts. These were the standout ones for me perusing the IMDb. She also has a Lana Del Rey song written about her. And I think that tells a lot about the kind of movie you're getting into.
Got it.
The lady is a dominatrix. The movie opens with the premise that she's like a no-touch dominatrix. They're just in this hotel room, and the guy is about to take over as CEO of his father's company. He's been seeing this lady a lot, and we're just in on a session. He wrote a script for her, and you see her go off the script and get back on the script, and he's very like, clean the bathroom, you little worm kind of stuff, and he really likes this lady being mean to him. Afterwards, they're eating dinner and they're having a nice time. He's like, "Oh man, thank you. You were great this week." And she's like, "No, you were great too. Pat on the back all around." He gives her like a crazy watch and he's like, "Listen, I'm going to be taking over the company, and so I can't see it anymore. But thank you so much for being my dominatrix who I pay every week. It's been a blast. But I got to go because there's going to be too many eyes on me now. And she's like, crazy to hear, but all right. So she leaves, and then she's like, hold on a second. She's at the elevator. She sees like a family portrait of him, and she gets all like, And she goes back into the room, and she's like, you know what? No, I made you into the kind of man that could take over your father's company. He's dead. You're like giving excuses from his book as to why you need to not see me anymore. And you know what? I say no. You're going to give me half of your year's salary and half of your bonus since I made you into this person. And this watch, fuck your watch. This is nothing. You're going to give me $6 million. And he's like, I'm not going to give you that money. And she's like, yeah, you are, because I'm blackmailing you. I have a video of your stuff and I'm going to give it to the company. And it goes back and forth like that. And it's a kinky, sexy movie, a sexy, kinky movie. It's a 50 Shades of Grey exists movie. It's a rich guy. It's a sex worker lady. And they're having a wild, rollicking time in this hotel room. These only two people you see the whole movie, basically.
Oh, is it a COVID movie?
I'm not saying it's a COVID movie, but it could be. If let's say it was greenlit at a time when their pandemic was going on and they couldn't have more than two people in a film set, and they're like, hey, I got an idea for two people in a film set, and you're a movie company, you're like, that sounds great, run it. And then let's just say that pandemic ends, and now all of a sudden you can have Fast and Furiouses and Guardians of the Galaxy, and all of a sudden your movie kind of sticks out a little bit because it's just two people in a hotel room doing sex stuff. I hated this movie. Justine, what do you think?
Yeah, the movie is like, it's obnoxious, which is really weird because it is just two people arguing in a room because the lady is like, give me more money. And then he's like, you're crazy. I'm not giving you $6 million. And she's like, yes, you are. I'm going to blackmail you. I have a camera. So then he wrecks the apartment looking for the camera. Just kidding. I don't have a camera. Okay. Get out of my place. No, you're going to give me stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to kill you. No, don't kill me.
I'll leave.
Like,
and then she leaves. And then she's
leave.
like,
never mind.
Never mind. I want to be co-CEO.
And then he's like, that's insane. You are so crazy. Get out of my house. No, I'm never going to get out of your house. I'm going to keep being mean to you. You like it. And he's like, I don't want to play this anymore. This is no longer part of the game. We're not playing. And she's like, yes, it is. No, it really isn't. Get out of my apartment. And she just won't let him stop. Like, she won't leave. And she keeps making it like, you like me being mean to you. And he's kind of like, well, he kind of does, but he also just wants her to leave. It's so uncomfortable, which is just like, just go away. Both of you, shut up.
Yeah, I think if these gender roles were reversed, it would be fucking nuts.
Let me tell you, there is a scene, she rapes this guy. Let's just, not like beat around the bush there. It's
she has a knife to his throat, and she's like, she gets him hard by being mean to him because that's what he likes. And then she's like, I have an app on my phone, and it tells me when I'm ovulating, and I'm ovulating right now. But
meanwhile, like I said, he doesn't want her to be there. He just is having this physical reaction to something that is arousing to him. And then she like has a knife to his throat, and she gets on top of him, and that happens, and he's kind of like, I don't know.
He's cool with it because it's so like over the top and crazy.
But yeah.
And then she's like, see, now I'm going to be pregnant and I'm going to hold that over your head. And that's why you're going to make me co-CEO. Again, can't stress enough. These genders were flipped here.
Yeah.
Something tells me this movie would have a rough time getting made. I think, I realize the main problem I have with this film is that the gimmick of the film, which they established right out the gate, is like, what's real and what's part of this psychological mind game that they're into with the kinky S&M stuff, right? Like what is actually happening and what is the mind game. But they are so like, it's part of the game. This is part of the game. No, it's not. Oh, you saying no, it's not as part of the game. Like they keep building on this premise so much that anything that's happening in the movie you can't really care about. And ultimately, since they don't really see their world outside of the apartment, you're like, is he the CEO of a company? She's like, at some point she's like, I broke up with my fiance and I don't see any other clients because I'm in love with you. And he's like, don't say that. And it ends with them being like, tell your mom you love me and you're going to let me run the company. It ends with him giving the whole company to her. Or he says he's going to buy out his company with the inheritance that he got and then make her the CEO. And then she gets to be this dominatrix person to all the board and everything. And she's
Holy
like,
shit.
yeah. And so, but again, because it's so fast and loose with what is real and what isn't, it's like, is there a company? Does she like him? Is she being paid? How much of it is this thing they're doing? Is she even a dominatrix? Are they just partners and this is a fun thing for them to do? Like, they're so open to interpretation. And I don't have any problem with ambiguity in film. In fact, I think like that's one of the distinct features that separates a kind of more mature film with the more popcorn kind of movies you see is like, hey, let the viewer kind of make their own mind as to what's happening. It can be a powerful tool. But when used to excess, like in this movie, you just can't be invested because it's like, what mattered? None of this matters. And then, okay, so let's say there's no CEO, there's no plot, there's no anything. Then you're left with, okay, well, what's the performance like? What's the cinematography like? I can watch some like, shadowy black and white movie where, not much happens, but it's like, wow, it's shot beautifully. The locations are stunning. The things the cinematographer choosing to include and not include is impressive. And you don't really need a big plot. But man, I think what it is that the actors aren't really acting so much as they're doing actory tricks. A lot of like, she'll be like, no, don't hurt me. And then like, she'll twist it around and be like, actually, I'm going to make you be a little worm now. Like, they're very much performing the whole time. And it's not like, and I don't know, it's like actor workshop stuff. Like maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but it doesn't like serve the characters. I don't get the impression that like, oh, this is what her character do. I get the impression like, oh, this is a trick that this actor knows and she's doing it. There's a dance sequence in the middle, no reason at all. When he's like going around looking for the camera, she like puts on a disco song and starts dancing around. And it's like, oh, is her character a dancer? Never explained. You just see her doing a little actor trick because she can dance around like that. And it's like, so what you're left with in lieu of the plot is these performances that are just aggravating because they're so actory. The writing is very writery. I realized the next day when I woke up, I was like, oh, this is like a prompt. This is dominatrix. Start your movie with a dominatrix dominating a rich business guy. And by the way, all of these, sex worker movies, it's always a rich guy. Fucking Pretty Woman, 50 Shades of Grey, all these fucking movies, they're always some rich guy. And like, I don't know who that is for or whatever. Anyways, start with a dominatrix dominating a typical business guy, end with the dominatrix being a CEO of the company. And it's like, that's a quirky writing prompt you would give in a community college writing class. And thus, this whole movie is just a prompt like that. There's so many lines in this movie because, of course, again, the actors are actoring and the writers are writering, and you have to focus on this because there's no story. So there's like this line where she's like, "You're a little trash boy. You think you're trash? You think you're garbage? You're nothing. Imagine an apple, a beautiful red apple. Now take that apple away. There's nothing, and that's what you are." And he's like, jacking off while she's saying this, and it's like, This writer is loving these words, but it doesn't serve anything. It's just pap. And this movie is getting great reviews. Just like, what was the last movie, You Hurt My Feelings, where we watched it and we're just like, oh, this sucks. This is very poor. Mm-hmm. And then the reviews are like, it's like 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. This one's in the 90s. People love this movie, which would lead you, as someone who likes small, quiet movies, to be like, am I a dickhead for not appreciating this? Or is this, I think all this stuff is just Emperor's New Clothes, Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I have a new theory right now, which is that there are so many of these like sequels and big budget, spectacular movies that people who want to be like, I like smart movies, are just going to say they like all these movies that are like kind of not the opposite of that, but the only other option aside from those kind of big movies. They can't just be like, I don't like any of this. Nothing that's coming out is good. They have to be like, oh, I don't like Fast and Furious. I like Sanctuary. And it's like, look, this is not one or the other.
And speaking of, Galaxy Brain critic movies, I was thinking of My Dinner with Andre, because that's a perfect example of two people in a room talking.
Yep.
Not a COVID movie, by the way, if you didn't know this. And like that movie works so well because you're compelled by the conversation itself.
Yes.
And then you're compelled by how you're learning about the characters through their conversations and like the characters' relationship to each other with the conversation. And it's, of course, like a play that's kind of filmed. So it doesn't inherently have that like cinematic quality to it, but it's just so engrossing. And that's what this movie is not. It's the same bare bones. You could have an engrossing movie about, a sex worker and her client, like talking things over and learning about each other. But all you learn about them, A, nothing, because they might all be joking because it's all part of their game. And B, like he is business guy who inherit thing from father, him no confident, her confident, want money. She want more money. Money me. You're a little worm. I'm money. No, my father money. Me. No. Me happy. Make me money. Like,
oh, I get it now.
It's fucking, there's like, it's shallow as a puddle. There's nothing you get out of
There
this.
is literally a part where she's like, I'm going to role play your dad. And he's like, shut up. I'm going to kill you. And then she's like, who do you think you are? Doing like not even like a good like old man voice or anything. She just like, is doing like a kind of a deeper voice. But really she's just saying what she's saying, but in a maybe his dad voice.
Right.
She's like, let the girl go.
And then he has to get all scared, like, oh, father.
And he's like, oh, no, I don't want to do it. Come on.
So now that I don't know if you guys have noticed, but as you've been describing this movie, there's been one movie master that's had his eyes closed the entire time, playing the movie behind his eyelids. So now, Dylan, now that you've seen the movie, can you give a quick review of it?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought the acting was great. Like the chemistry between these two people. I honestly I was really into it. As a guy that's not financially like stable, like
Go off.
yeah, I kind of like the role play as a rich man becoming just a worm or like less than dirt to a woman that I'm paying, since I'm pretending to pay her, I guess, because I'm financially unstable.
So in your letterbox for this film, you wrote, "It's giving me a goth."
No, I my letterbox was like 4 stars, and it says I can relate.
Awesome review.
Yeah.
There's a couple really good bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and I agree with all of them. This one guy was just like, halfway through this movie, I wanted to just take a lift and leave these two narcissists to themselves. And I was like, yeah, actually, they're just annoying. Like, and again, not every character has to be like a great person.
Yeah.
Like you can have engrossing films portraying dislikable, gross people, but they're not fun or engaging. They just suck. They're just suck people. Again, that can be good in a movie, but in this movie, it's just so claustrophobic. You're just like, yeah, get me the fuck out of here. I don't care. Go do your thing in private. That's why you hire a dominatrix to dominate you in a hotel room in private by yourself, because we don't want to watch that shit. I don't care. And man, just to like give itself like some edginess, he's like, oh, you're bored, want to hear that the new CEO was into XYZ, ZYX, like just name dropping all these different kind of kinks and stuff. Like, sounding is a very specific kink. Yeah. You're not into that and other stuff. And that's why, again, like why it seems so toothless. It's like, you want to be this like dark, sexy, sexually deviant kind of thing, but it's like, perverts are not that broad.
Exactly. Yeah.
They usually have pretty niche interests, and just the amount of different, like there's a race play element the lady's bringing up, and like all like pick 2 max that you're just rattling these off. Again, the writer is writering to the audience like, hey, I know kinky stuff. I'm talking about pervert stuff. This isn't in Disney movie. This is dark sex side of sexuality. Shallow.
Oh, and so the title is, at some point he's like, sanctuary, because she keeps talking. He's like, sanctuary. I'm saying the safe word.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me guess. The safe word. Yeah.
Oh, that's the safe word?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what. Credits? Was it credits like immediately?
I wish. No, the end is like
Hey.
Yeah.
Flowers, the score was really nice. It was just like a basic orchestral score. I think it was meant to be very like classically romantic and lovey-dovey with the strings and everything to probably balance out the, perviness of it, which was a fine touch. I wasn't mad at the score. Good score. There we go.
But the end does end with like a kiss in an elevator and then the doors close, like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then the real love begins behind closed doors.
Yes.
Yeah, these are supposed to be the movies that you watch to get away from the cheesy popcorn movies, and these are worse than the cheesy popcorn movies. I'm so offended lately. I'm on a bad streak.
Tell you what, email us at moviemasters760@gmail.com and tell us your most hated movies. They could be recent, they could be all time. We're curious. What do you hate?
Yeah, we're on a bad streak. Let's all make it worse. I think we made our voices clear on this. We don't need to. I don't want to do a tie me up or tie me down thing with this.
Well, which one would you choose?
I would say the safe word and get out immediately.
So it's good because Sanctuary is the title. If that's the safe word.
Oh, I didn't say that my safe word would be sanctuary. My safe word will never be sanctuary. It's gonna be like.
Okay, I have an idea.
Go on.
Pick your safe word.
This is the Wrinkle Movie Master.
Banana.
I think you want it to be a little bit sexy, right?
Chili bowl.
No, you want it to be something stupid.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna feel silly saying like
Yeah,
Grover
that's what
Washington.
you're
That's the
supposed
point.
to.
Yeah, I think
Not
that's
to
what, if
kill
it's
the
a
mood.
safe word because you want to get out of your arm's about to break because she has you in an arm lock.
Yeah, so exactly. So you're in peril and you're gonna be saying, Kermit the Frog, Kermit the Frog, Kermit the Frog. No,
Yes.
Well, yeah,
That's the
that way.
point.
That way you get out of it.
I want-
Oh shit! I'm about
And
to break
it's
your arm.
not
aren't I?
something that you can mistake for being
Sexy.
something
Exactly.
else.
Yeah.
why don't we?
All right, actually, you know what? Go down your road. Tell us your idea. What's sexy
what's
to
your
you?
sex word?
I think you want.
What's your sex word?
You want a non-sexual word that doesn't completely kill the mood. Raspberry. You're never going to say it accidentally during your session, whatever you're doing. And it's not like, it's not going to conjure up any silly ideas. There's still something kind of sensual about it. Raspberry is a good safe word. I'm a proponent of this, the red, yellow, green light situation. Green light's more,
okay.
yellow light's, hey, pump the brakes a little. Red light is full stop. Saying red light is just as effective as whatever silly thing you want to come up with. And it can be a universal. No, everyone do what you want to do, but I think the universal green light, yellow light, red light is great.
Kermit the Frog, Fozzie, and what's the red one? Animal.
Stephen King's It Too.
It too.
What's your safe word, Brent?
For me?
I thought it was Animal Kermit.
Yeah, mine is Kermit the Frog.
Okay, for green light.
Fozzie.
Yes.
And Animal.
Dylan?
I didn't think I was going to answer this question.
You brought it up.
I thought it was for you to answer. You watched the film, but all right.
VH1's I Love the 2000s.
I love the new millennium. Realistically, if I had to be dead ass, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like I did legit think about it, and like the least sexiest thing that would probably turn it off anyway would probably be all like, dude, put on like some old school punk.
Yeah.
And that'd be like the safe word. Like, I'm out of here.
What about
Like,
Minor threat.
dude, Sex Pistols. Put on the Sex Pistols. Ah, fuck.
yeah, if the idea is to
Oh, you almost broke my
But
arm.
see, you might say the word sex while having sex, and then
I never say sexy.
you might.
I'm having sex.
I say that sometimes.
Yeah,
actually.
exactly.
What if you just yelled grandma?
No, because that could be part of your play. Maybe
That's
that's
true.
Into that.
See?
All right. Speaking of being tortured and begging for escape, The Machine. You know the director of this? He's Peter Atencio. He did a Key and Peele show, like a lot of it. In the movie Keanu. I don't know if that rings a bell.
Whoa, Keanu is watchable.
One of the writers did a chunk of the series Cougar Town.
Don't know
Ooh,
it.
love that show. Courtney Cox?
Starring
Oh, Eric the actor.
Ack. And you also had the co-writer. He did the chunk of the Workaholics series, and he did Adam Devine's House Party. That ring
That's
a bell?
Classic.
There we go. So, skilled writers. The movie is based on a story, an excerpt from a stand-up special that Burt Kreischer shot.
Kreischer.
Burt Kreischer is a IRL stand-up comedian, a human being with a social security number and all that. He told a story a series of stories compiled into a stand-up comedy routine, one of which is called The Machine. It's like a 13-minute bit. It was apparently a viral sensation going around. And in this story, The Machine, that he tells a story of himself, IRL, who was a party animal guy in Florida. In college, he goes on a foreign exchange thing to Russia. In Russia, everything is mob run. So his class dorm kind of situation was like looked over by a hired mob man. He was such a wild party animal that the mob guy was like, oh, I love this guy. He introduced himself as, he had like in his way of saying it, according to the stand-up comedy bit, he had this bit he wanted to say to the mob guy to impress him, but all he could come up with was, I'm the machine in Russian. So he says, I'm the machine to the guy, and they love him and they party with him so much so that when it goes time for the class to take a field trip, the mob guy hands him off to another mob, and he's like, hey, look after this guy. This is the machine. He's a party animal. He's going to have a fun time. He parties with the mobsters on the train. They end up robbing the train, of which he is now an accomplice because he is partying with them so hard. And, they get off of the train and they're trying to arrest him, but the mob is so powerful. They're like, nah, this is the machine. And F you, teacher, this is Russia. Anyways, that's the whole story. Actual stand-up comedy story. Now, to Burt Kreischer's credit, this story did actually go viral. There's a 52 million view count on YouTube of him telling the story. He is a successful comedian in his own right. This movie, which is based on the story, builds the backstory, like the lore of this story that he tells in his stand-up special. So like, because that story, IRL, actually happened like 20 years ago. And this movie is a complete work of fiction that like plays off of that story happening. One of the people that he robbed on the train in the story, in this film, this fictionalized world, became a powerful Russian mob guy. And once he sees the viral clip going around, he's like, oh, that's the guy that robbed me. Send my daughter and my tough guy mob team over to America, kidnap this guy, who, by the way, now in IRL world, Burt Kreischer is like, he's trying to go sober because of all his party animal ways have driven a wedge between him and his family. So he's like trying to be on the mend and not be that guy. The mob shows up around the same time when his father, played by Luke Skywalker, shows up, and the father and the son, they don't get along. So essentially he now is getting kidnapped by the mob because they want the pocket watch back that he stole from them 20 years ago. And thus every character in the story that he told is now like a character in this movie. And they have like a backstory and names and plots. There's flashbacks to when he was younger and the story was taking place. And like he was actually kind of a jerk in the story and he's making it sound cool. But listen, I think I did a fair and neutral job describing this film. Yep. Okay. So it starts to get a little weird because the tonally, it's like an action comedy, like hard action, like not Pineapple Express, kind of like bang bang for comedy and to like propel the story, but like
John Wick-ish.
Yeah, like
really?
Yes, like hand to hand, like the mob lady and there's like some
Even
sort
Burt.
of like coup in the mob where they're trying to like, there's like a civil war of sorts. So she's fighting other mobs, she's fighting her family, she's trying to be a girl boss, and so there's like really drawn out physical combat scenes, gunfights and car chases and all this stuff.
Decapitation.
Yeah, there's like gore in it. It's a hard R rating. So like, I think Deadpool would probably be like a comparison in terms of like real high action and raunchy comedy, R-rated kind of comedy. Deadpool, this is not.
And comedy, this is not.
Yeah, I think you have to, I really think to be as favorable as I could to this movie, I think you have to really like Burt Kreischer. Mm-hmm. This is a vehicle for Burt Kreischer fans and fans of this story he told.
You have to be a real diehard to get into this.
But he did not write it?
No, he just stars in it. And like, I guess to kind of put in perspective, I think like if I could pick just a sliver of this film to kind of showcase the like questionable nature of it. At some point, like I said, he's been trying to be sober because he's like messed up his family. But there's a point at the end, like towards the climax, where it's like, you got to become the machine. And so he chugs back a bunch of vodka. Oh, worth noting, he is a like folk legend in Russia in the film. Not IRL, I don't imagine, but in the film, he's like, his face is like a spokesperson for a vodka company. You see his billboards all over the place with like a fictionalized version of him when he was a kid. And so he's like a beloved folk figure in Russia in this movie. And so, yeah, he has to chug the like pint of, what size of bottle is the vodka?
Probably like a liter or
Okay.
so, but like when he does it, he looks exactly like Alex Jones. It just kept throwing me, and then I realized that they're both friends with Joe Rogan.
Right.
So I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, that all clocks."
It is a very Joe Rogan verse comedy baked in. He has a podcast too with Tom Segura, who's a deep Joe Rogan verse guy. Tom Segura, I think, is funny and has like funny bits and stuff. Burt Kreischer, I was like just fully unfamiliar with before watching this movie. Like nothing. I had to like go on a bender of like YouTube videos to get caught up just to like understand exactly what I saw, because it's such an egomaniacal film and such a brutal vanity project.
Yes.
But you're watching a vanity project for someone you know, have no idea who he is or what his background is. So to the story, he's chugging a liter of vodka that has his own label on it, like Popeye eating spinach, and this gets him like yoked up enough to be the machine and take on this buff, insane like Russian mob guy, like, and not in a comedic way, like, you know, he sets traps around like in Home Alone or something, like just blow for blow, just fighting this guy. This is
his line was, you know, he goes, because he went to school at Florida State, so he says, you know, at FSU, all we know is fighting, fucking, and drinking. And I'm terrible at fucking, you know. So and then he just beats the absolute shit out of this very, you know, highly trained and skilled fighter,
Professional killer.
And I guess it's not like, you know, in all fairness, to his defense, he doesn't like stand over him gladiator style. It's more like it's kind of actually like that fight in the new John Wick movie where there's a giant German guy and he's like, he kind of like gets the shit beat out of him. He beats the shit out of him. Except John Wick in the universe is like this superhuman figure, and Burt Kreischer is a guy.
Well, he's also superhuman because he survived at a very high speed being pushed out of a train by Luke Skywalker. And nothing was broken. Everything was fine. And he ate a pot brownie and
a 20-year-old pot brownie.
Dodged bullets. So yeah, he's John Wick.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and it's like, I think if you're a fan of his comedy, maybe he's, you know, workshopped this out to where like, oh yeah, this is something my fans will love. But if you're not like in this cult, it's just like, who is this guy? Why do I care? What am I? What is it? Doesn't make sense because he's not built like an action guy, and action stuff is happening. And in any other kind of action comedy film, it's fine to have like, I'm the comedy guy. I'm Seth Rogen in a movie, and I'm an MMA guy. I'm going to be your bodyguard. And action will happen. But like Seth Rogen or, you know, whoever a comedy guy is going to be like hiding under the desk and be like, oh, I'm scared and it's funny and this you're supposed to laugh because I'm the funny guy in this movie. And then, you know, you, the viewer, get to watch these two strong guys fight. But this movie, he just has no problem being just like, look at me, I can fight really good too.
Justine, there's a part where he punches a large gentleman in the throat and his fist goes into his throat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's so strong. Oh, the guy was still talking.
Yeah.
And the only way the guy got killed was by another train. Oh, by the way, let me point out something. Okay, so Sony, we saw one of their films within the past year called Bullet Train. This is their follow-up offering, which also takes place on a train. They got a thing for trains over at Sony, apparently.
Yeah, actually, Guy Ritchie will do the action comedy thing kind of well, but his movies are like, I'm a big tough guy. I'm Jason Statham. I can fight. You know me as a fight guy. I'm going to do fight stuff, and then I'm going to say something mean to you after I beat you up. This is like, for no reason at all, in the midst of this Russian mob thing, this guy who you've only seen as like a family man and a stand-up comic and a podcaster is now like ready to fight like this.
I felt an overwhelming warmth of commiseration when you said just one word, egomaniacal. All I could think of the entire time was just like, this is just ego. Like, it's just like this guy thinks he's fucking awesome. But like, if you walk in cold and you have no frame of reference, you're like, none of this is awesome. You're just a fat guy that like just drinks.
So you said it's action comedy.
Sure.
And it's not funny. So
No.
how's the action part?
It would probably be passable as like, you know, something you would catch streaming or something.
I would say the action somehow is better than the comedy aspect of the movie.
So is it like watchable because of
The
for
action,
the
if you
action?
just stripped away like half of the dialogue and plot stuff and just mostly action, it's fine.
Yeah, they spent 20 mil on it, so like it looks like a passable action movie. That's for sure.
It is like 2 hours. So if you would have
Yeah.
like took away
The comedy.
30 to 40 minutes of like actual plot devices and lines,
Yeah.
dialogues, story.
And a lot of the action is just between like mob families in Russia, and a big part of the arc is the lady is she's like a daughter of the mob boss, but her brothers don't want her rising up to be the top mob boss because she is girl, and in Russia girl is weak, and so she is like fuck you, I do fight stuff. So if you want to see that's present. I didn't think it was bad, but you can't really care.
The depth of the comedy is lines like, I guess they don't have wokeness in Russia yet.
Yeah, like
You're supposed to laugh at that.
Yeah, they're walking by these two Russian ladies, and they say something like, "You are pussies," and they go, "Oh, I guess they're
Yeah.
just like that. You don't remember that line? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got great delivery. Yeah, this one was extremely rough.
I was like asking around after I saw it. I was like, do you know this Kreischer guy? And a friend of mine, this is not my joke, so don't call me out on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm not stealing. He's like, yeah, he's like a human Dave and Buster's. That's it. That's the one. Yeah, it's I'm fine if people like things that I don't like, and it's like, this is something for you. I got to assume this is for his fans, and he is.
Well, to that point, I saw a matinee today, and there was over 20 people that were definitely his fans in there. They didn't laugh. They laughed at the Urkel reference, and that was really it. They were happy to support their guy, but they weren't laughing. I heard a couple of them saying like, "Oh, I guess this is like more of an action movie."
Right.
I was just like, "Oh." I saw it marketed as a comedy, but okay.
Well, I'm sure the crowd that you watched is like not their first viewing.
Oh, wow. That's a great point. They already know the jokes.
Yeah, they laughed it off already. I'm sure it's like their third. They're watching every corner, trying to see the backgrounds for stuff. They probably saw the Tom is fat tag. It was like, yeah, I'm into this.
And again, I keep bringing this up. 52 million views on this YouTube video, so that's not nothing. And I understand the logic that they're applying, but it's also like, what was that clip from like a couple of years ago? The guy like skateboarding and listening to the Fleetwood Mac song and drinking orange juice. Yep. Like, you going to make a movie of that? Because a lot of people have seen it.
Well, also, this wouldn't be the first time that a studio got duped into making a movie based on what they perceived as a viral clip, where in a world where you can buy views,
Right.
So,
right.
And I think so far the returns on this movie have indicated that, not all 52 million people are going to see this movie.
Right. I mean, you got a guy who's like, he's got podcasts, like he's promoting it. Like, it just seems on paper like a decent investment in that regard.
Who's the comedian that has that line? It's like, they spent $9 million on this movie. Why not just keep the $9 million?
Yeah,
it's like Norm Macdonald.
That's Norm Reed Dirty Work, a stone cold classic.
Which
this is very much so.
Yeah, why not keep the $20 million?
You have the 20, just keep the 20 million. And I mean, I guess it's like and now we see like the strength of this fan base, which is not to say particularly strong, I guess, because it's like hovering around 5 to 8 million, something like that.
Yeah, there's probably like a Venn between that audience and Boogeyman.
Like, no marketing for it, so they're assuming that this will market itself in terms of like the fan base showing up for it.
That's the tricky part, because I'd be shocked if you and I were in that algorithm. I think it probably is heavily marketed.
Who knows? Well, whatever they're spending, it ain't working, and this fan base is, probably satisfied. The audience score is awesome on Rotten Tomatoes. You can look at that. That's certified. Critics scored not so much. But yeah, this was wildly miserable. This is what makes me want to see the Boogeyman. This isn't like swing for the fences jokes. Like, I want that right down the middle. I've seen far worse movies, I guess, but this is like one of the hardest ones to watch. Like, I broke out the phone a couple times, and I don't do that in theaters.
Yeah, I've never seen you do that ever.
You've never seen me watch The Machine, because it's long and it feels it, and it's
really long. Yeah.
Oh man, at least I could see this being for someone. There's a lot of these movies we watch where it's like, this is for no one. Yeah. I can fictionalize in my brain a Burt Kreischer fan base Whether or not
Yeah.
they exist, I can neither confirm nor deny.
I can confirm he's got a fan base.
I can fictionalize that fan base in my head, and I can believe that they would like this. So it's all gravy. It's not
At
for
least
me.
it serves some people.
It's like a children's movie that's
Okay.
like, okay, yeah, I don't like this, but I'm not supposed to like Banana Man the Monkey Kid having a silly time adventure movie
Right.
because this is made for kids. And this movie is made for fans of Burt Kreischer, I think.
It's just weird. Like, yeah, his whole character is kind of based on like, look at this guy carry a room. But it's like, who can carry a room? Don Rickles. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because there's actual jokes. And I think maybe like a double-edged sword of Marvel having so much success is it's turned comedy into quips and like
Yeah.
being quippy versus like being funny the whole fucking time.
Well, the funny you should say that. I was looking back at I was like, do I just hate comedies now? But I'm like, no, I really like that Fool's Paradise movie, which was
Yeah.
ironically completely shit on critically.
Right.
I really thought that was hilarious.
it's a pure comedy.
And the other like funnier movies that I've seen are like Guardians of the Galaxy, Dungeons and Dragons, like kind of stealth backdoored comedies. I don't know if just due to the nature of what's profitable in comedy right now, those are the better vehicles for that kind of humor. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, Apatow kind of raunchy humor is just, there's enough money in it to get a movie, like a smart, well-made movie in theaters like that anymore. So the better comedy is the kind of like silly, goofy, more sitcom-oriented stuff, which is served very well by the big budget genre movies. So when you have to be a comedy now and also kind of bow to public tastes and work with a budget and stuff, it's just so compromised. Dylan, you love this, right? You like to take off your shirt, yell. That's the other. Oh, I know your kind of humor. I'm making a face at you right now, and I'm gesticulating with my hands super hard.
I do love face humor.
Dylan's got the best face jokes I've ever heard.
Yeah, I can make some funny faces, dude. Like as a non-fan, only knowing him for performing with his shirt off, that's the only thing I know of Burt Kreischer.
It's like it's a gimmick or something.
Weirdly enough, he only takes his shirt off in like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, they save it for the end. I mean, they show him with some ill-fitting shirts as like to foreplay.
It'd be funny, yeah.
Yeah.
But as a non-fan, I'm sure the bigger Burt fans,
Kreischer heads.
they're laughing. I'm not saying this movie's not for me. I did enjoy it. Colin was there. I laughed so hard when Mark Hamill, aka Luke Skywalker, aka Bert's dad in the film, did the mouth noises in the beginning of the film when you first meet him. But he never does it again, although they do.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Yeah,
I
they
forgot
reference
about
the fact that, he does it all the fucking time. He's so annoying.
And he did it once.
He did it once. He never did it again.
That is funny. Okay, this is the funniest movie.
No,
of the
I
year.
will
You're
say
right.
I do like Mark Hamill weirdly the most in this
Oh,
film.
of course.
Not
How could you
weirdly.
not?
It's not weird. Him and the Russian lady, I will say, were the best part. But like the running gag of him putting his hands up, funny. I died every time. But like I enjoyed the film. Honestly, it was fun. It was actiony enough. I wish it was just mostly action.
Yeah.
But it was still a good movie. You know what's funny? I did forget about the daughter aspect of the whole film.
Yeah.
He's there to save his daughter. I just completely forgot about that.
Her daughter is being held hostage.
Oh, she's not held hostage. She's being watched.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if they don't get the pocket watch back, then the bodyguard who's watching Kreischer's daughter is gonna kill him.
Like
and so
in John Wick.
I have a positive thing to say about this film.
Go off.
An interesting point they bring up. They have the hackiest, corniest father-son, ends with them literally fishing together. They make up. But the lady, the mob lady, and her dad, she ends up shooting her dad and killing her. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just put this little part in a box and look at it this way. Like, that's an interesting thing for a film to say. They're saying sometimes you can have an arc with Luke Skywalker and be at peace with him. Other times you just need to shoot your dad. And I'm like, that's those writer guys. That's them putting that in to be like, look, it's a contrast. It's not always just this one way. There's other ways to go.
I mean, he's not wrong.
So the Machine. Are we ripping off our shirts and then going on the Joe Rogan podcast, or are we just gonna, stay with our family and be decent human beings? I'm gonna be a decent human being on this one. And never speak of this film again, Brent.
I'm going to be a decent human being, and I'm going to burn all my Luke Skywalker stuff because you ruined my childhood.
I'm going to rip my shirt off, and I'm going to get on the Two Bears, One Cave podcast,
Ooh.
which is the Burt Kreischer and the Tom Segura podcast. And I'm going to speak highly of the movie.
Welcome to the future where AI monsters are creating movies. This is A.I.MDB. 4 of these plot descriptions are going to be read to you. One of them is fake. We made it up. It's written by an AI-generated ChatGPT creature. The other 3 are real movies that actually exist and are real. We're going to lead off, since we watched the kinkiest, sexiest movie, with S&M themed films. The first description that I'm going to read to you, which you are to determine which one of these is the AI descriptor. A violent gangster seeks refuge from the mob in the bohemian home of a former rock star, is your first prompt. Your second is, a girl loves an older man. He demands that she goes in a brothel as evidence that she loves him. Is it a daring couple embarks on a provocative journey, pushing the boundaries of pleasure and desire in a gripping tale of love and domination? Or is it a frigid young housewife decides to spend her midweek afternoons as a prostitute? Which of these sexy movies is written by a robot? A horny, sexy robot.
I'll go with 3 then. Or C, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. C or 3 is
C3.
the robot, according to Brent.
I'll go with 4.
B.
Dylan says 4. Justine says B. Justine, a girl loves an older man. He demands that she go to a brothel as evidence she loved him, is the plot of the film Fruits of Passion.
Huh.
Dylan,
Yes.
a frigid young housewife decides to spend her midweek afternoons as a prostitute. That is Belle de Jour, directed by Louis Buñuel. However, Brent, a daring couple embarks on a provocative journey, pushing the boundaries of pleasure and desire in a gripping tale of love and domination, is written by a robot. That is the AI generated.
You know what I really don't like is that that's the best written one.
But that's the plot to 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, that one just sounds like everything.
That's why it's AI.
It's what happens when you tell ChatGPT for a one-sentence description of a fake made-up movie from the 90s about a kinky S&M couple. That's what it says at you.
But that is 50 Shades of Grey.
Hey.
That's a couple.
Hey, it checks out as being fake.
What's A, though?
A is Performance, starring Mick Jagger.
Oh.
Yeah, a violent gangster seeks refuge from the mob in a bohemian home of a former rock star. Your next one, we watched Spider-Man. So this clump of films is going to be movies about bugs.
All right.
Is it A, a horrifying shocker as a biological experiment goes haywire when man-eating mutant roaches invade an island community, terrorizing a peaceful New England fishing village and hideously butchering its citizens?
Bug's Life.
Is it B, amidst a wave of creepy crawlies, a quirky duo of pest control experts armed with flamethrowers and comedic wit battles a swarm of mutant insects terrorizing a small town in this action-packed, campy 80s adventure?
Ants.
Is it C, a blackmailer threatens to sabotage roller coasters at various American amusement parks if he isn't paid a huge ransom? Or is it D, a slacker awakes to find himself weak and wrapped in a webbing after realizing that the world has been taken over by giant alien insects? He wakes a ragtag group of strangers and together they fight for survival. Which one is written by a robot?
Ooh, C.
C is a blackmailer threatens to sabotage a roller coasters at various American amusement parks if he isn't paid a huge ransom.
I'll take that one.
C sounds like the fake one. I'll go with C.
D.
You say D? Justine. A slacker awakes to find himself wrapped in a webbing after realizing the world has been taken over by giant alien insects. That is the plot of Infestation from 2009.
Really?
2009.
I thought that was like 8-legged freaks.
Brent, Dylan.
Okay.
A blackmailer threatens to sabotage roller coasters at various American amusement parks if he hasn't paid a huge ransom. It's a plot of Roller Coaster from 1977.
What the hell? That's a movie?
I've seen it. That's the crazy thing.
I technically looked up bug as a tag, and so I think I probably would have gone over that one closer if I had more time.
Yeah.
Amidst a wave of creepy crawlies, a quirky duo of pest control experts armed with flamethrowers and comedic wit battle a swarm of mutant insects terrorizing a small town in this action-packed, campy 80s adventure is fake.
What?
It felt too wordy.
That is a 32-word description of a fake 80s movies about exterminators.
Which one's A?
That is a horrifying shocker as a biological experiment goes haywire when man-eating mutant roaches invade an island community is The Nest from 1987.
I've seen that one too,
We watched The Little Mermaid last week. This chunk of film descriptions are from Don Bluth Animations.
Oh.
He had nothing to do with The Little Mermaid. I just respect him more.
What the hell is going on?
Animation. These are all movies that Don Bluth had a hand in. None of them will be Dragon's Lair because that's a video game. Doesn't count.
Yeah.
But still respected Don Bluth in general. But except for one of them, which is written by an AI monster. This retelling of the Hans Christian Andersen classic fairy tale has the digit-sized heroine evading the clutches of various toads, moles, and beetles before she can proceed with her courtship with her dream lover. B. A lovable bat goes on his own adventure and meets a pink snake, a dapper bear, a prince, and evil Baba Yaga trying to rule all of Russia. C. A mischievous kitten named Banjo runs away from home and soon realizes he may have made a mistake. D. In a dusty frontier where children and animals roam, a band of young adventurers embarks on a Wild West quest, learning Aesop's timeless wisdom through thrilling escapades, forging unbreakable bonds while unraveling the secrets of the West.
D.
Brent says D.
C's the cat Banjo.
You're doing okay.
No, B. I'll go B.
Justine?
I'm feeling B.
Okay. So B is lovable bat goes on his own adventure and meets a pink snake, a dapper bear, a prince, an evil witch Baba Yaga trying to rule all of Russia. That is the plot of Bartok the Magnificent, a 1999 feature, I believe. No one said the retelling of this Hans Christian Andersen classic fairy tale has a digit-sized heroine evading the clutches of various toads, etc. Why did no one pick that?
Thumbelina?
Because that is the Thumbelina film. Banjo, the woodpile cat, is C. A mischievous kitten named Banjo runs away and soon realizes he made a mistake. However, the dusty frontier where children and animals roam, a band of young adventurers embarks on a Wild West quest, learning Aesop's timeless wisdom through thrilling escapades, forging unbreakable bonds while unraveling the secrets of the Wild West. That is fake.
Yeah, that showed its ass.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that one, but
I typed in both Aesop and Wild West in the key searches because I saw the Hans Christian Andersen one, and I was like, oh, if I'm going to include that. I was almost going to go all Russian because Anastasia is also a Don Bluth joint and also Russian. How do we not talk about that in The Machine? There's no mention of Russia being at war with the Ukraine right now in that whole film. It is borderline propaganda. I'll give them the very insanely huge benefit of the doubt and say that they, wrote this film and started doing it all before.
Counterpoint.
Yes.
They also cited an incident where Burt almost got his daughter arrested, right? That happened last year, 2022. So the writing was right up.
But that could have been inserted last minute. Listen, it's really hard not to look at that film as a piece of Russian propaganda. Horrible. Last round, bonus round. This is a plot of a film that is real. Again, I'm going back to the kinky, sexy, steamy, sexual, sexy
You're horned up
genre.
today.
Oh, I watched some kinky people have kinky sex in a hotel room for like 4 hours. Of course.
And then I went to the movies.
Yeah, and then you came here.
Peter.
Wait. So one of these is real.
One of these is the real title. The other three are the titles that the AI robot made up. 3 of these are fake. One of them is real, which is the real title of this real plot of a real film ripped from the headlines of IMDb. Peter, a married psychotherapist, and Suzanne, a professional dominatrix, have been engaged in an affair of sensual dominance and submission in an S&M dungeon where they must abide by the rules. Now, those rules are about to be broken. Is the title of this film, the real title, is it Going Under? Is it Bound by Desires, Unveiling the Forbidden? Is it Bound Secrets? Or is it Eros Unleashed? Real plot, real movie. One of those titles is real. Which is the real plot? Which is the real title?
There's so many 50 Shades. Say everything but slower. Plot 2.
I thought I was doing the lady from that movie, but it's really just Charlize Theron from Fast and Furious. Peter, a married psychotherapist, and Suzanne, a professional dominatrix, have been engaged in an affair of sensual dominance and submission in an S&M dungeon where they must abide by the rules. Now, those rules are about to be broken. Is it A, Going Under, B, Bound by Desires, Unveiling the Forbidden, C, Bound Secrets, or D, Eros Unleashed?
You sound more like Donald Trump whispering.
These movies, they're going to be huge. What is Donald Trump whispering? Where do you get that?
That's all I heard.
That's amazing.
Because the way you would say certain words, it was like there's a certain
He's
Trump
so
twang.
right.
Russia is our greatest ally.
Oh my God.
Burt Kreischer
is
is a
Trump.
genius. He's huge. Have you seen this clip, The Machine? It's
You're
going
saying-
viral. It's going viral in a big, big way. This guy, he's doing great things. His movie, The Machine, probably the biggest movie.
You think you liked the film?
No, I don't think.
I'm sure he watched it.
I don't think Donald Trump has seen a movie since Home Alone 2.
too. No, I think he's watched it. Bert gave him a copy.
Going Under.
I'll go with Arrows Unleashed.
I'm going to say A also.
The title of this film from 2004, Going Under.
Yep.
I loved the alternate titles that I didn't use because they sounded too AI. I just kept putting like title for a movie about, and then you copy and you paste the actual plot.
Wait, what's the... Go on. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
Well, what was your question?
What was the... What's the game? I thought it was pick the fake title.
No, pick the real title.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, he flipped it for the last bonus round.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
a
I got
bonus
so
round.
distracted. I just forgot after your sensual explanation.
It's
I
very
just forgot
sensual.
the rules
Wait,
of the
so
game.
you picked
I
the
thought
fake
Arrows
one?
was the fake one.
It was.
It was, but I
There's
thought
two
that was
others.
the point. Oh, fuck. I'm stupid.
See,
yo.
yeah, see
So
how
the
it worked?
fake,
I got distracted.
the really broken ones were Tangled Desires Unleashed, Rule Breaking Seduction, and Beyond Forbidden Limits.
Yeah.
Which I think are
Cool.
Man, it is scary.
Beyond forbidden limits.
Tangled Desires Unleashed.
Sounds like a Swedish death metal album.
Yeah. That's the next genre, Swedish death metal album or sexy softcore DVD.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
been a pleasure playing A.I.MBD with you. Dylan, tell the people what's up next.
Unlimited.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited. Buckle up, because we're about to go back into the world of the transforming cars. That's right, Transformers Rise of the Beast. There's no Beast Wars, or what they call in Canada, Beasties Transformers. The Transformers Beasts are just rising. Then we got Kandahar with Gerard Butler. Anyways, everybody, see you at the movies. Bye.